Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and chat with amazing humans about their stories and their journeys through mental health. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce Kris Dale to the conversation. Welcome, Kris.
Welcome, thank you very much.
Lovely to have you. As always, just very quickly, how we got to this conversation. I'll let you do a proper introduction to yourself in a moment, Kris. But we actually participated in the Baton of Hope event in Basingstoke back in September of 2025, for anybody listening in another year. And I was there at the time that Kris was telling his story, and it was just so inspiring, so incredible. So when I was starting to put together the guest list for this podcast again, Kris was in there, and it's just amazing to have you here. So, Kris, do you want to do a very brief introduction to who you are, and then we'll get into your story?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Chris. I'm a business owner, a budding property developer, and a founder of the motivational clothing brand Don't Be a Can't.
Excellent. Good. And we'll make sure we say that correctly and pronounce it correctly. I'm sure
Yes.
it's a wonderful thing, and it's got so many obviously reasons behind it, and that's great. And we'll get to that. But as always, when we come to these conversations, there's a story to tell, and I really want to sort of give you some space just to say, Kris, tell us a bit about your story, your journey with mental health, and I'll sit back and have a good listen.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like everyone, I kind of grew up on a council estate, mum, dad, brother, but things were never like my things never great. My dad was an abusive alcoholic. Just in general, just not a very nice man. My mum, she's a true hero of this story. It's all about her, not me, really. When I was about 12 years old, she had a very botched lumbar puncture, and it left her paralysed from the waist below. And told she'd never walk again. That's one thing. One thing about my mum is you can't tell her not to do anything. She's stubborn like that. Things were great. We had our house had to be essentially remodeled, and yeah, it was sad times. I was very young and didn't. I don't think I fully understood kind of how bad it was until I kind of got older. If that makes sense. And then I saw things got kind of go worse with mum and dad, and eventually I think my mum asked my dad for a divorce, and that never really. I don't think that went very well. And then there was one day that he got particularly drunk, and sorry, there was a time. I remember I had a cricket tournament one day, and it was we'd actually won it, and it was one of the happiest days of my childhood, my short childhood. But that's one of the days that I'll always remember for the rest of my life. I remember I was woken up by my mum screaming. She was screaming, "Help me!" And I can still hear those screams. I can hear them today. I can hear them right now. Exactly how it was. And I remember I came out of my bedroom, and my dad had violently attacked my mum with a metal chisel over the head. He dragged her out of bed, kicking her, punching her, and they were at the top of the stairs. And as I came out of my room, my dad kind of like came towards me to get me back into bed to, I don't know, so I didn't see it or kind of whatever. Into which my mum, again paralyzed from the base below, slid down the stairs like a slide, and managed to get to the front door and open it up, and escape. And the police were knocking on the door, and some of the neighbours. Um, yeah, so that was kind of the start of my mental health journey, I suppose. Things were never great from there. He got bail, got arrested, got bail, and then tried to finish the job, I suppose. Got drunk, took an overdose on I think paracetamol, and tried to petrol the house. Luckily, it never got that far. Police arrived. Mum had a panic button, heard the noise in the garden, pushed the panic button. Police were there. I managed to stop it, and one of the police officers actually got seriously burnt in doing so. Again, he saved kind of all our lives. So yeah, that's kind of the start of going through that. Is yeah, that's like such a young age, and I don't think still today I've never really kind of really thought about
Yeah.
how deep it was, how bad it was, how traumatic it was for mum. Even for me, I suppose. Even for me, my brother. I don't think we never divulged into that
No.
things. So yeah. So from there, kind of growing up, brother took took to drugs and alcohol himself to kind of deal with it, where I kind of went in a complete different path and became this positive little chappy that I am today, I suppose, from the teachings of my mum. But we survived it. We passed through. We grew through it. We grew, and yeah. But then things they were never great. School was hard for me in particular. People used to react differently with my brother's behaviour. I used to take the brunt of that. If they couldn't get to my brother, they'd get to me. I'd get picked on. I got beaten up. I got mugged. All these kind of things because of my brother's actions. Or because of people knew what happened with dad. You know, kids are horrible. They're mean. Um, I'm the short one in the family as well, so I always got bullied because of my height. All my family's like in their 6 foot, so I'm 5'5". So kind of like I would say the runt of the family, but I was never if that makes sense. Yeah, so always got picked on. Uh, but just kind of just went through it. Just mum's lessons. Mum's always positive. She's the happiest. Yeah, I think the attack from my dad changed her
Mm.
from being I don't know how she was kind of before, but she was always upbeat and positive about life. I think when you're kind of near death, you can see it from a different angle, and I think she became fearless and started to look after herself, wanted to be a better person. From being a lady in a wheelchair, she started walking again. She got a career in health and safety, and got really and started her own business. And she really took it, and being alongside that and watching her, that kind of was my trajectory, I suppose.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, school was never great. I left school, started working for some local businesses, had some lived on my own for a bit, but nothing was. I was in that place, I suppose, where I had nothing going for me. I was just cruising through life, but I always had that niggling feeling that I was destined for more. Um, and so I say I lived with some friends at the time, like kind of the early 20s, and I was just like, I need more than this. I like everyone was doing the same thing. Yeah, Monday to Friday was work pub sort of thing, and that's great. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I enjoyed some of the times, but there was something I'd say that burning in me. I needed to do more. Um, and I took the hard decision, and I up and left, and I moved back in my mum. My mum lived in Maine at the time, and I was living in Tadley. And I upped and kind of left and moved back with my mum to kind of almost like refresh, start again. Um, I didn't know anyone where she was living, and she forced me to join this local gym. Um, and that's where for me my life changed. Joining that gym was the best thing that I've ever done. The people I surrounded myself with at that gym, they were so positive, they were so upbeat. There was such a camaraderie between us all. Everybody was like, if you were strong to do a push up or push a weight or anything, everyone was there behind you. We did runs together, we did obstacle courses together. It was such like a tight knit family, and being around that changed my mindset from being kind of like a mundane sort of kind of person, and I just then you just sucking up at everyone's energy, and it was fabulous. And between them and my mum, there was just that was that light. It just started to burn a little bit brighter and brighter.
Yeah.
And yeah, then and just kind of from that, I'd had a few different kind of jobs here and there, but I always wanted to have my own business. Always did. And when the opportunity came to kind of start my first business, my mum was the one. Obviously, she helped me get through to that and do that, and with her positivity. And yeah, 8 years in, I have a sexual business and can continue to grow. Going to start venturing into property development and give me the chance to start my brand now as well. The Don't Be a Can't.
Yeah.
So it's been a. So I know it's a bit higgledy-piggledy in the story. There's so many different bits in there that I always kind of think about. And
Yeah. And they all come together, don't they, to where you are now?
yes,
And
100%. Yeah.
And I always think, when I'm training mental health, mental health first aid and things, we talk about something called the frame of reference, and it's the thing that defines who we are, and it's the way that we interpret the way our journey through life.
Yeah.
And so bringing that point to there, we've got all these experiences, these, traumatic experiences that you've been through, Kris, and, the challenges, and you've got this really incredible mum
Yes.
who is, she is your guide, right? She is your light, she is your energy. It sounds like that she's really so how did this movement towards the brand come? When was that sort of moment in your head where you went, I've got a thing here and I can make this and I like it and I want to. How did that all come about? I'm always fascinated, sort of the origin story of the don't be a can't.
So I mean, the original phrase again, it started from the gym. It was one of the gym owner that I went to. It was something he used to say to us, like if we was like, I can't do it, it's like don't be a cunt.
Mm.
And I think it's more the play on words because of kind of what it can sound like, but it resonated with me, and I always liked it. And then I think just before COVID, literally right before COVID in January 2020, my mum contracted viral meningitis, and she was in Spain at the time, and for some reason she didn't have travel insurance, and she was left very poorly. She was in a coma for a while, and we almost lost her, and we had to get her extradited back to the UK. It left her with permanent brain damage, and she now has to live in a specialised care home. And she's not my mum anymore. She's not the person she was, and I think that was it. That was the like that woman has gone through everything you can chuck her, and everything she just reflected it back off her with such a positive attitude. And I suppose even now, she's not the person she was, but she's always smiling. She's always happy. Like every time I see her, she comes running kind of towards me to give me a hug, sort of thing. It's. I always find her so inspiring. Like, say, she's gone through so much, but always has a smile on her face, and she would never be told she couldn't do anything. And even when we were in Spain in the hospital, and there was like, I don't think she's going to be able to make it. I'm like, you know, maybe for some
Don't know it
people,
too well.
but this is my mum. Like she will get through it, and I should say she did. And I think that was it. That was the inspiring, and then that that was the real reason why I wanted to start. I wanted to do it so she could be proud that I want to breed on her kind of legacy of that what she's taught me in life. I suppose never say never, don't give up, and
Yeah.
just keep pushing, and the things. Yeah, I think that's kind of it, really.
Yeah. And that's where it all came from.
Yeah, and
You,
then it
you've
just.
also got a really supportive relationship as well, right?
Yes. I am my wife. She's been amazing. She's been through everything through with me. My mum going through meningitis, and whatever I've decided, she's given her 100% trust in what I've done. It's starting a business to starting this brand, to going into property development, to kind of selling my business, to being there when my mum's been ill, flying out to Spain with me, side by side, no matter what, no questions asked. 100% trust, 100% following me and everything I've done, and that's been yeah. I couldn't have done it without her. And I don't think I ever gave enough credit for kind of what she has done for me. She's always told me to be more vulnerable and put myself out there, and I never have. Um, and I remember the first time that I think I shed a tear in front of her. I felt so weak, embarrassed, ashamed, and I was like, I'm meant to be the person you're looking up to, and this is how, and now I'm letting you down. But in turn, I wasn't doing any of that. And I think because of that, our relationship got better. I became stronger because I didn't have to hold all that in. And I still don't do it fully, but it comes out slowly now. I could be a bit more vulnerable and a bit more things, and it makes me a stronger person, better. Yeah,
Well, it's real emotion, isn't it? And it's
yeah,
the hardest part. And two men talking about mental health on a podcast or in any forum, it's that sort of, you still have that thing that says I don't think I can really share that.
yeah,
And what's people going to say? And we talked before we did this recording, didn't we, about when we get messages back from people after we talk about experiences, or and the negative messages just don't happen really. It's
yeah,
more thank you for sharing it, or that really helped me, or that was really insightful. And I found that personally on the day of the Baton of Hope when we were doing those events. And it was never about waiting for somebody to break. It was just about accepting that we're all in it together, and being there and in that moment. And and I know your wife was there as well, and your children were there as well, right?
They
So
were, yes, so
which was
yeah,
great to see. And they're only young, right? So
yeah, so
part of the journey.
7 and 5, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you made a comment, and I know it's on another video that you did on the day, but you made a comment about sort of what they were saying to you before you did that, and it made my heart warm this morning when I listened to it before we did this session. Do you remember what
Uh,
it was about?
I do, yeah, and do you know, I'm welling up now. Like, yeah, I don't know why, but it just really pulls my heartstrings because
Really is.
that's it. Really does, yeah. So when I was talking to them about me being on the baton, because I mean they've always asked about my dad and my brother and why they're not around and all that, and we just kind of like brushed off. So they're bad people. We don't want to be associated with them, kind of thing. We don't see them. But I wanted them to be there, and I wanted them to see what I was doing. I wanted them to be inspired by it. And so we kind of gave him a brief of what was going to happen. And yeah, and Arthur kind of said to me, I'll go see if I could try and get it remember it word for word now. But when I was he was like saying, you had a bad life back then, but now you have a beautiful life. Um, and Rose kind of said something similar as well. And yeah, but I can't remember now. But it got me so emotional hearing them say that, and I was like, that's exactly what I want them to do. Like, it's just yeah, absolutely amazing. One of the best things I could have heard as a father. But even going back to that, my eldest daughter, she was I mean having conversations with her, and she was always like, you don't care about my feelings, my emotions, because I always had this hard shell, and that was another turning point for me as well because I was like, oh, like I do care. I'm your dad. I want the best for you. I want you to be able to open up and talk to me. I want you to trust me. And the fact that I was being this caveman,
Yeah,
pig-headed person who just didn't, who gave that persona that I didn't care, but I really did. And I think that's that's even pushed me even more to be emotional and be emotional with more with Arthur and Rose because they're younger, and I don't want them to spend many years thinking I don't care about them.
yeah, no, it was so powerful, and that is just such a lovely, innocent reality, though, isn't it? And I always
Yeah,
think young children is, they tell us they're the tellers of truths, and when they tell things or mention things in the way that they did for you as well, it's sort of a reminder of, they see it and they feel it, and if you're carrying that sort of generational trauma or that experience, the last thing you want is for them to feel that feeling that you've experienced.
yeah,
So
100%.
but it sounds, from what you're sharing with the support around and with the fact that your mum's been so, influential in the way that you sort of see the world and creating something, about don't be a can't, it's that, so let's look at the can part of it. So what is the can to you? What does that mean?
For me, I suppose it's the we've got to change this stigma. I think it's so easy to say I can't do something. It's almost become as an excuse, and I think there's just such a bad stigma around it. I was told many times that I would never amount to anything in my life. That I would never achieve anything. I'm just, you know, who would listen to me? Who would do like? And I never believed it. And I think that's it. Like I never believed it, and I always had that desire that I would. And I think people can do these things, and it don't become it's not about oh I'm 5'5", I can't touch the ceiling. It's not about that, but it's about changing the way you think. So I try not to use the word can't at all in my vocabulary unless I'm saying don't be a can't, man.
Yeah,
Which is something is really hard to do. But
yeah,
what it does, it makes you stop and think. So rather than saying I can't go and get that job, you start thinking, okay, I can't. I'm not going to use that word can't. So if you try to that, say I might struggle to get that job. Okay, but I might struggle. So you're not saying you can't do it now. You're saying you might struggle. So there's hope that you could do it. And
yeah.
that's I suppose that's the real mission here is to change that to get rid of that instant negativity and start to turn it into a bit more positive things because you can go for that job. You can go and ask that person out on the date just because you might think they're going to leave. There are these things. I'm a very believer. You don't get what you don't ask for,
Yeah,
and
100%.
it's the same thing. So you can achieve this life. I was told I wouldn't be able to have a business, and I have. several businesses now. I mean, there are opportunities for everybody, and I think more importantly, I suppose, like, and some of the things that like a lot of people go through is I can't cope anymore. I can't go on. That's right at the top.
Yeah.
But the effects of that is can be so different.
Yeah.
You can be there, you can carry on, and by carrying on, things can be so much better for you, and with that support that people have.
Mm.
When I told my story to my closest friends, that was probably one of the hardest things I kind of had to do because we're all men, we don't talk about our feelings.
Yeah.
And I had to then go be vulnerable in front of them. And I was like, I can't do that, I can't do this. And I was like, but that's not me. So I have to, I can.
Yeah.
And I did. And again, their reaction, it was very different and straight, but it was not what I expected. It was kind, it was caring. They gave me their advice, they helped, and they like sent checkup messages to me, and it's things like that. My instinct was like, I can't tell them. They'll just have to hear it on the day. But I
Yeah.
needed their support, I needed their advice, I needed different people to hear it. I needed people like me to hear it, so I knew how to deliver it better.
Yeah.
So I had to do it. So I could do it, and I did, and best thing I ever did.
Amazing. That and you know what, that power to the reality of, when you can share that, or when you are open and you can be open and be honest and authentic, you see the reaction. We see it, right?
Yeah,
This is where I always think there's people out there who will listen to this, or people out there who are struggling, who think if I tell somebody that I'm struggling, or if I'm, and it's that going back to the men, the masculinity issue, and it's that, but actually it's the best thing we can do, isn't it?
oh, 100%,
you know
100%.
and you'll then have the ability to do all the things you want to do in life if you can be honest.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I grew up in a very male dominant family, very old school. My granddad was a typical Yorkshireman. Very like if we fell over, hurt ourselves, it was just kind of get up, man up. We didn't have feelings because if you did, you was called a girl, and it was brushed off and that. And I'd lived that through my whole life, and I think that's kind of what my eldest kind of saw in me is that, and it's the complete opposite. I was so wrong, absolutely so wrong. It's yeah, you don't need to be like that.
No.
Vulnerability is not a weakness.
And the world now is so much different, isn't it? And I think
Yes.
and I don't like going back and going, well, back in the day, and it's that going to that point, isn't it, of like back in the
Yeah.
old days, which was happening. That was it. We did it. It happened. That was what we lived in. But now the world is so much different. We are, having the ability to be open and honest and transparent. I guess the challenge a lot of people see is the negativity of the world at times. You
Yeah.
know, even to the point that you said about the can't word, it's that sort of first thought is always negative, isn't it? Oh, I can't do that. Oh, it's, we all wrap ourselves around this sort of thought feeling of negativity, which is one of the challenges we have when we're trying to be open and honest about how we really feel. If
Yeah.
I share with you what I'm really going through and what I'm really experiencing, you're just going to say, so what? So's other people. And, why do you have to think you're important? And that's how I feel inside. So
Yeah.
it's such an important piece right now.
I would completely agree. Yeah. And I think I was exactly the same. And I never thought my story would be worthy of telling, for telling it. And the comments, messages,
Yeah.
the support, the just everything it was so overwhelming. Especially from the Baton Hope, I got so many. I got people come up to me and tell me I'm inspiring, and I never in a day would have thought anybody would have thought that about me. And then when I put it out on my social medias, and then the comments and people come again messaging me, I was just in wow. I was just I can't describe it. I said the word. It's so difficult to describe that kind of emotion because it was so unexpected. Um, but I'm so glad I did it, and I want to do it more.
Yeah. And no doubt you will, because you've got a
Yeah.
really great, powerful story, and you've got books to write and things to do, and
Yes.
you've got to find the time to do it because obviously your ventures and your business ventures and things. But
Yeah.
it's so useful, sort of hearing your journey and your story, and I really respect and appreciate everything you've shared. We are coming towards the end of this conversation, and sort of I always like to throw over sort of final thoughts, anything you want to share, anything about where you see the future of what you're doing to help others, support others. What's sort of your dreams, ambitions, and what do you want to say as a final thought?
Yes. My dream was for Demi Khan was to kind of grow a big clothing brand. I think one of the big things in positivity is affirmations, and I'm a massive believer on that. But the more I've kind of pushed it, the more I've grown, I see so much more for it. I want to build a community. I want to build a community of people of positivity. I want people to know that they can achieve their dreams, with the right time, effort, work, whatever needs to be done. There are options and there are ways we can work around it in kind of all walks of life. It doesn't have to be getting the job, trying to get the girl you fancy down the pub, or kind of anything really. I want to get rid of that stigma, that negativity stigma, because it's ruining people's lives. And I think it's just a change of mindset. And I want to, like I say, grow that community. I want to put myself on stage. I want to become. I like to become a motivational speaker where I can talk properly, and kind of like share these experiences with people, and get people to share them with me, and use me as that, like, I can do it, and if
Yeah.
I can do it, anyone can. And I think that's the thing, and the more people share their stories, the better everyone's going to be, I think.
Oh, 100%. And that's why this is here, that's why we're here today. We're talking and sharing a story. And for anybody that's listening who wants to share their story, you're always welcome to come on and have us, sit down and a chat about this as well. Because that's what the fuel of where we are right now, isn't it? It's telling stories, but people hearing sort of the things they need to hear to sort of take something out of it. Kris, final quote or thought. Have you got a favorite you want to share with everybody? Anything that sort of stands out for you that sort of guides you through life?
Oh, I have so many quotes. I love a quote. I absolutely love a
I do.
quote.
I love it. I love it.
I have hundreds written down.
I didn't prepare you for this. So pick a favorite.
Pick a favorite. If I can try to remember any of the ones.
See on the thought back, so we didn't prep that, did
I did not prep that. I'm just trying to see if I've still got mine written down.
we?
No,
Right.
I'll go for the simplest one. The one I have, and I have tattooed it on my
Yeah.
arm, is Carpe Diem.
See,
Latin for seize the day. And I think, yeah, that's I've had that on my arm since I was 18 years old. And I live by it. You got to seize the day. You got to go for it. Don't let anyone say you can't do anything.
I love that. That's amazing. And carpe diem. I love it. Brilliant stuff, Kris. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and thank you for sharing everything you shared as well. And yeah, look after yourself. Good luck with Don't Be a Can't, and everything else, and with the family, and with the business ventures, and everything else that's going on in your world. But yeah, keep on being an amazing human, and
No,
look after yourself.
thank, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.